welcoming a truly dynamic speaker and author, Mr. Rogers. Mills has walked many paths in his life as a classroom educator, a substitute administrator, a soldier, and a mental health specialist. These diverse experiences have given him a unique understanding of the challenges and triumphs of education and personal growth. He's a passionate advocate for educational equity, a leading voice on service and personal development, and the author of 4 editions of the inspiring book, Success is a Process, Not an Event. Mills believes that every single one of us has the potential to achieve our dreams. His message is clear. You are more than capable. You can win being you. Today, he's here to share his insight and inspire us all in his own fun and engaging way. So please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to Mr. Mills Rogers. Thank you. Perfect.
In order to be a champion and ally in schools, we have to answer 3 questions. We have to answer these questions from ourselves. Who am I? And that's what inclusion, for example, is equitable access, making sure that we're meeting the needs of individual learners.
And there's some things that are out of our control. There's a lot of things that we can't control. It's something we talk about, but we're responsible for. It is our shape. So we need
success, your attitude, your progress.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. I'm trying to channel his energy by what I have on today. Right, and so, yeah, just like Tony was saying, the students were incredible. So let's give them another round of applause. I went in one of the sessions and I left in tears, in all honesty, because what they were saying was just so heartfelt and touching. Our goal today is to lead. I know I'm in a room with leaders, whether it be school board members, whether it be students, whether it be teachers. And all of us here today are here to lead. We're here to learn about ourselves. We're here to empower ourselves. We're here to affirm our purpose, and we're going to develop our skills and knowledge. We are going to lead. And so I've attended many conferences, and you're probably saying to yourself, who is this dude up here? I want to know a little bit more about him. And so a little bit about myself. I am coming from Austin. They couldn't get any politicians to come to the conference, so they got me to come out. Okay, they had to get somebody from Austin, so I was like, hey, I'll do it. I'm originally from a little small town in Louisiana called Ville Platte. Has anyone heard of Ville Platte? Okay, I figured a few of you all would, here in Galveston at least, would have heard of Ville Platte. I know I go other places in the country, of course, no one has heard of it. And so, yeah, I'm originally from Ville Platte, Louisiana. I went in the Army, served 5 years as a mental health specialist. I went to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, Raging Cajuns, great school. And then from there, I got into education. And so my claim to fame, the picture on the right, far right, I was working at Nimitz Middle School in San Antonio. This was in 2005, 2006. We were killing it as far as our inclusion program. And so once upon a time, there was these things called magazines. And so Education Weekly came to our campus, which is a magazine, because we were, again, killing it. And so they wanted to do a special on us. And so they took a picture of your boy in action, picture on the far right, doing some inclusion teaching. And so, yes, I got a chance to be in a national magazine. Now, I think it's really important that I share my why. And so in the middle, it's me and my oldest daughter, India. And so let me tell you a little bit about India. Like any expectant parents, we wanted a healthy child. And on November 26, 1997, the day before Thanksgiving, the turkey came out the oven. Nice and brown, 7 pounds. And for the next 18 months or so, things were cool. They were good. India hit all of her milestones when she was supposed to. Started crawling when she was supposed to, started walking at about 11 months, and around a year or so, she was saying little words. And then around 18 months, her mother and I noticed some regression. And so like any concerned parents, we took her to the pediatrician. And the pediatrician at the time was like, hey, you know, kids' development, you know, there's an ebb and flow in it. Let's just keep an eye on it. And now keep in mind, this was in 1999. And so we did, because we were hopeful. During this time, I was in the Army, and I got stationed at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And so it was the year 2000. Anybody remember what was supposed to have happened in the year 2000? Yeah, Y2K, the world was supposed to just shut down. Little did we know that that prediction was off by about 20 years with the pandemic of 2020. And so, yeah, we had all survived Y2K, and I was working as a mental health specialist in the Army on the psych ward. And so one day, working on the psych ward, actually one night, you know, most of us didn't have access to the internet around that time. And so many of us would use the internet, especially as soldiers, at work. And so it popped into my mind, this thing called autism. I didn't even really know a whole lot about it, but I typed it in the search engine, and I started looking at the symptoms for kids, and I'm like, whoa, this seems to be what's going on with my daughter. She had all of the characteristics. And so as a concerned parent, what do you think the next thing I was looking for on that page? Yeah, how to cure it. Like, is there some medicine she can take? You know, is there anything that we can do? And I scrolled down, and it was like, there is no cure for autism. All you can do is address symptoms. And I'm like, man, oh, that does not sound good. However, I was still hopeful, even with her meeting all the characteristics. And so we brought her back to the pediatrician. They referred us out to the University of Missouri, where they did their testing and everything. And it came back that India was diagnosed with autism. And so it was a real gut punch as a father, because I had envisioned fatherhood looking a certain way. And of course, when you have a child that has a condition, it changes that. And so it's a big part of my why. It's basically how I have gotten here today. It led me into education. It led me into speaking. As leaders, I think it's so important that we talk about mindset. Anybody recognize who that little known guy is up there? Yeah, Tom Brady. And so I got a quick story to share with you about Tom Brady and mindset. And so we all know, we've heard the story about Tom Brady. And if you haven't, hey, I'm kind of giving you a Cliff Notes version of it. He wasn't expected to be this great NFL quarterback. He wasn't drafted high in the draft, drafted in the 6th round. And again, no one expected him to turn out to be as great as he was. And so in his second year, and I'm sure you watched the Tom Brady roast, he was the backup to this guy named Drew Bledsoe. And so he got hurt. Drew Bledsoe got hurt in, I think, the second or third game of that season. And Tom came in. And so the next game Tom started, and this is a true story, Tom had an absolutely horrible game. They were playing the Miami Dolphins. And those of you that know football, you're going to definitely say, man, that was terrible. He went 12 of 24, meaning he completed 12 out of 24 passes for only 86 yards in an entire game. Now, that's horrific for a professional quarterback. That's not that great for a high school quarterback. He also fumbled twice, and the Miami Dolphins lost the game 30-10. I'm sorry, the Patriots lost the game to the Miami Dolphins 30-10. And so on the way back to Boston, Tom is playing cards with his now backup. And Tom is telling him, you know what? I am going to be one of the best. This game is easy, man. And his backup says, dude, what are you talking about? He's like looking at him bewildered. You just had a horrible game. You are the reason that we lost. And he's like, man, again, it's easy. I got this. And don't you know, the next game, Tom Brady had his best game of the season. He threw for over 300 yards, and they won. And they ultimately won their first Super Bowl that year. And so it's a huge testament to belief. We have to believe that we can make a difference in the kids that we are serving as leaders, that we are impacting families. We have to have faith. And I'm a believer in God, and I read the Bible, and one of the things that it talks about is faith without works is dead. And so we can't just leave it as far as faith, just a belief. We have to put in the work. And so today I'm here to talk about what that work may look like as we move forward. Being a champion for kids. If I'm going to talk about being a champion, I think it's very fitting for me to show you this super impactful video by Rita Pearson. And so I'm going to hit the play button, and she's going to talk about what it means to be a champion for the kids that we serve.
We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? How do I raise the self-esteem of a child who's academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class. Because I am the best teacher and you are the best student, they put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? And I gave them a thing to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I'm powerful and I'm strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, practice, places to go. And they said, yeah. They said, long enough it starts to feel positive. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. For years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in the desk drawer for kids that needed to eat it, a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids to stay. Years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mom died 2 years ago at 92. There were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh well, you betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educated. We're born to make it. Thank you so much.
She talks about being a champion. A champion is someone that connects with kids, doesn't give up, insists that kids be the best that they can be. Now, I do understand that most of you in here are not on the quote unquote front lines, being in the classroom. However, you still are champions for the kids and communities that you serve. The kids and communities are depending on you all to make decisions in their best interest. Decisions that will help them fulfill their potential, to help them be the best that they can be. Parents look at kids as their precious jewel. People live for their kids. That is like the most important thing to them by far. And so you being in the position to impact policy, advocate, is huge. And so please do not take it for granted. Use the blessing of being in that position to help these kids. And so in order to be a champion, we must be able to answer 3 questions. Who am I? I think it's very important that we take a look at ourselves. We have to understand what makes us tick, what are our triggers, what motivates us, what's important to us. Who do I serve? And then lastly, what are the needs of the people or of the kids or of the families that I serve? In order to be a true champion, we have to continuously answer these 3 questions about ourselves. It's not a one-time thing, because we should always be in a state of trying to do better, to achieve higher, to push further. And so the first question, who am I? And you're probably catching on. I like acronyms a lot. And so I like to say that when you look in the mirror in the morning, or when you take a selfie, you are your shape. You are your standards, habits, attitudes, perceptions, and experiences. You are your shape. And so I want to ask you this question. So if I could ask a small favor, if you can just scan that QR code right there. I want to know what influences our shape, our standards, our habits, our attitudes, perceptions, experiences. What influences our shape? And it's going to populate as you all put in your answers. See, reality, peers, inner voice, our families, environment, backgrounds, love, parents, family, politics, determination, how people react to us, childhood, goals, faith. All of those are correct answers. And I like to do stuff like this because, yeah, it gets the thoughts going. You know, you get to hear from different people in a venue as large as, or audience as large as we have. We often don't have an opportunity to hear from each other. And so you get to see what everybody's thinking by doing this. And so, yes, all of those things influence our shape. Thank you for participating. And so we're going to move along. I got in shape. And so anybody want to take a guess who that lady is right there? That's my mom. My mom was an educator. She taught for nearly 30 years. She believed in an education. And she believed in it so much that she wanted your boy right here to become a teacher. And so as a young man, that dude right there, that's at my high school graduation. I'm not going to tell you when, but it was a long, long time ago. I'm a Generation Xer. I'll just leave it at that. I did not want to be a teacher. She's like, Mills, why don't you go into education? You always have a job. That's a good field to go into. And I'm like, no, you're complaining about the kids. Why would I want to go in that field? I don't want to do that job. You're saying they're bad and stuff like that. And so I went to college and I didn't major in education. I changed my major a few times, but never to education. And kind of the icing on the cake, I did some subbing while I was in college. And I went to this one elementary school, first grade class, and cute little kids just running around and everything. And this one little girl, and this was in Lafayette, Louisiana, one little girl walks up to me. She's like, sir, how old are you? And I said, I'm 22. I think I was 22 at the time. Yeah. She's like, you could date my mama. And I'm like, oh, no. That's enough. I'm done. I'm not getting into education for sure now. And so I left it alone. However, through my experiences with my daughter, number one, and my experiences in the Army, my attitude toward education started to change. And I ultimately got into education for, like I said, my daughter and other reasons. And so I like to say my shape changed. And change is a big thing. We all have to work on ourselves because, again, like I said earlier, we're leaders. And so we have to have a certain mindset. And like they used to tell us in the Army, you got to lead from the front. You got to practice what you preach, or else people are not going to believe you. They're going to feel like you're just phony or whatever else. And again, I know that you all are not on the front lines, so to speak. However, people do pay attention to you and they do count on you. And you have the potential, if you want to get closer to the front lines, if you're not already, to do that, to be more hands-on and to hear kids and hear parents and that sort of thing. Not saying that you don't already do it, but I'm just saying, hey, it's there. You have that opportunity. And so to change our shape, to change maybe some of the beliefs we have or to grow, we have to get information in the form of education and experiences. And this is a little diagram. I try to be a smart person as far as addressing how we change. And so our experiences in our environment lead us to view things a certain kind of way, how we perceive it, and give it value. And so when things happen to us in the future, then we react a certain kind of way because of how we perceive it and value it. And so the only way to truly change is through information in the form of education and our experiences. Now, education doesn't have to be formal. In fact, most education is not formal. We learn from our day-to-day encountering people and just learning different situations. But that's how we change. And so as a leader, as someone that is responsible for making policy for our school districts, we have to continuously work on educating ourselves to the needs of our constituents, understanding what they need from us, what changes maybe that we need to make. And again, that takes a level of personal growth of ourselves. Now, the next question, who do I serve? Well, in the state of Texas, public schools serve 5.5 million kids. And this is the breakdown right here. Now, I know, unfortunately, public school education tends to be the whipping boy nowadays. But here's the reality. Here's the reality. In our country, education is the one way for those that come from challenging circumstances to overcome those circumstances. It's the one reliable way, I should say. The one reliable way. I know a lot of times our kids are like, hey, I can maybe be an influencer. I could do this and that and blah, blah, blah. But no, education is the one reliable way for our children that are coming from vulnerable backgrounds to overcome their circumstances. And a lot of times people want to say, well, education doesn't work. No doubt it can be improved. However, it's not like it's just a waste of time. I don't believe that. Why? Because I've seen it in my own family. My mom grew up in Jim Crow era Louisiana. My grandparents had a middle school education. They had to drop out of school to take care of their families. And my mom was the first in our family to go to college. And it made college a reality for the rest of my family. To the point where today, I would say that at least half my family went to college. Would I say half? No, actually, I'd say about 75% went to college and half got degrees. And so it changed the trajectory of my family. And I've seen it change the trajectory of many of our students coming from the most vulnerable populations. And so public education, it does work. It's not perfect. Yes, it can be improved, but it does work. And with that being said, I know there's a lot of talk in our country about doing away with the Department of Education. And I understand we might not have any control over that, but look at the bottom of my list. You have your economically disadvantaged students, which make up 60% of our public school students in Texas. And you have special education students that make up 12% roughly of our students here in Texas. Both of those are federally funded programs. Now, again, we don't know what's going to happen with the Department of Education, but I would just ask you to, regardless of what happens, we have to make sure that the federal funding for those two groups continues. Because I know many school districts, the majority of school districts get Title I funds, which is federal funding. And of course, every school district has special education students, which is also federally funded. And so even if they did away with the Department of Education, it's very important that we share with our lawmakers the importance of making sure that federal funding is kept up for those two vulnerable populations. And here's the reason why I say that. I do a lot of work with Head Start programs around the country. And when the federal freeze took place the other day, one of the things that was put out there that I saw posted by one of the Head Start leaders was that, hey, they were visiting on Capitol Hill and that a lot of the lawmakers did not know that Head Start received federal funds. Isn't that amazing? They make the budgets, they approve the budgets, and they did not know that. And so that's why I'm saying we have to make sure that our lawmakers are crystal clear on the fact that your school districts need that Title I funding to meet the needs of the kids in your district. Because we all know that if your districts lose Title I funding, that could be pretty catastrophic. You know, it's not where this is just targeted to one group or anything, and it's not about politics. It's just about the fact that, hey, we want to educate kids, we want to do right by them, and sometimes these lawmakers they don't know everything. They don't walk on water, they don't understand everything, and it's our duty to put it out there like, hey, this could impact so many kids. That could impact the kid next door to you. That could impact this family. You have to let them know. We can't assume that these lawmakers, whether they be in Austin or in DC, understand all the ins and outs of it. We have to educate them. Last question, what are their needs? Needs is another acronym. The needs of the populations we serve, it involves nurturing, engagement, equity, dependability, and standards. And so, as a leader, we have to make sure that we are meeting each one of those. It's expected of us. And so what does it mean to be nurturing? Oops. It means that we want to have a sense of belonging. We want our constituents to feel like they have a voice, that it is safe for them to be vocal and let us know what they need from us or what the problems are. We want to create an environment for our leaders in our district, along with our students, that supports growth. Now, what does nurturing not mean? It doesn't mean simply being friendly. Now, don't get it twisted. We do want to be friendly, all right? But that's not the only thing. It has to be a little bit more substance to it. We want to be, it doesn't mean being accommodating. Yes, we do have to have boundaries, and we are the experts in the building. We understand policies, we understand budgets, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, we can't just do whatever. And then lastly, just making things easy. Now, I know sometimes us educators in the building, we're like, hey, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? That doesn't make any sense. But we, as the leaders of the district, the leaders of the school, we have a level of seeing the vision, sometimes more than the educators that are in the classroom. Engagement, what it means ongoing opportunities for meaningful participation. We want to invite feedback from our stakeholders. We don't want them to feel like, again, they're not being heard. And then we also, and I feel like this is the most important thing, we want to be visible and accessible. We want people to feel like, again, like, hey, it's not like it's just this person sitting in this office and they're doing their thing and that's it. No, we want our constituents to feel like we invite the feedback. We want to hear from them. That is true engagement. Now, what is not engagement? Strictly doing what's fun or popular. I think we all know that, though. We can't always take the easy way out. Avoiding tough conversations. And, when things are tough, our human nature is to naturally want to avoid it. But we can't. We have to have those tough conversations, and we're definitely in a time where those conversations need to be had. And then just doing check-the-box events. We want them to be meaningful. We don't want to just have something to say, okay, we did it this year, or we gave the parents this opportunity, and that's that. No, we want to make it more meaningful. We want to make it open, and we want to offer multiple opportunities for our parents and our school leaderships to be vocal in the process. This one is equity. And I think it's so important that we are clear on what equity is. When you look at that picture, equity is simply meeting the needs. That's it. It's no more than that. Because you see, equality, yeah, it's a step in the right direction, but it doesn't help everybody. And so equity is not where, we're looking for somebody to get an advantage, but we're just trying to meet them where they're at so that they can be successful, so that they can, reach their potential. And so I like to use this example. Let's say I came in here with a bunch of t-shirts that said Mills Rogers, the speaker. And I'm like, you know what? I'm in a good mood. Every one of y'all is going to get a t-shirt. But here's the thing. I only got one size, smalls. And most of y'all going to be like, dude, you see I don't wear a small, man. I wear an extra large or whatever. And so that's equality right there. Equity is simply saying, okay, I got the shirts. Tell me what your size is. Tell me what your size is. I'm meeting the needs of everyone. And so I just share that with you because, unfortunately, sometimes equity, the definition is kind of put out there the wrong way. And the reality is, it's like, hey, yeah, we're just simply trying to meet the needs of the families, of the kids that we serve in our school districts. That's it. It's not where somebody's going to have an unfair advantage. Because as you can see in reality, some people, some kids are already at a disadvantage. Because, and not by their choosing, not by their choosing. I don't know about you, but how many of y'all had an opportunity to choose the family that you're in? I mean, anybody in here? No? Okay, I was just making sure, because I know I didn't. And that's the situation with most of our kids. They didn't get the opportunity to choose their family, to choose their level of wealth. And so that's where equity comes in. We're just trying to help them by meeting their needs, their individual needs. Dependability, very important for us as leaders. It means doing things with integrity, doing the right thing no matter who's paying attention or whether we're just by ourselves. Doing what you say you're going to do. Consistently acting in the best interest of our stakeholders. And so important in the time period we're in right now. Acting in the best interest. Like I said, there's a lot that has to be considered nowadays. And, you know, a lot of you are going to have to make the decision as to how vocal do I want to be for those students in my district. You know, because again, when it comes to funding and everything, we do want to make clear to the lawmakers how important this is. And so dependability, people are depending on you. And so again, as leaders, we have to make a choice. What it doesn't mean simply being present or showing up. It also doesn't mean that you can't delegate. You can delegate. It is okay. And then also, kind of along the same lines though, you don't want to use your authority to simply pass the buck or throw somebody under the bus. You know, great leaders take accountability. They stand on what they say, and again, they accept responsibility for whatever decisions go right or go wrong. Lastly, standards. I created an acronym that I think would be great for school districts, especially in the district office. We take care. We take care of our constituents. And so what does take care mean? We do things in a timely manner. We respond in a timely manner. We don't take them for granted. People are spending their hard-earned money in stores, and it's going to taxes. They're also paying property tax. And so we owe it to them to respond to whatever needs they have or whatever questions they have in a timely manner with a sense of urgency. We want to be accountable. Already talked about that. Being responsible and transparent. We also want to have knowledge. Now, that's not saying that we fake it till we make it, but we do want to educate ourselves on the intricacies of our positions and what we do. And if we don't know the answer, we want to get the answers, but we don't want to pretend to have an answer. We can always say, hey, I'll find out and I will get back with you. And we keep our word. We also want to empower. We want our parents and our constituents to feel like they have a voice and that they know how to navigate certain situations. We want to stay focused, centered. We also want to be attentive. We listen. And so that's where it takes just being out and about, being visible, and making sure that people feel comfortable coming to us. We want to be resourceful. Now, we can always use more money for our districts and everything, but it's been proven time and time again, and I know this ain't popular because everybody wants more money. Even the people that are wealthiest want more money. And so, yes, school districts, we can definitely use more money. However, it's been proven time and time again that what you have, does work because most of our students are walking away, being able to read, write, do math, and live decent lives. I know I've seen it. You know, I taught middle school and high school, and believe me, I had some students in 8th grade, 9th grade. I'm like, man, whew, boy, I don't know about you. I don't know if you go, because it seemed like they just didn't grasp a lot, especially their behaviors and everything. It was very challenging. Let me just say, put it that way. But then when I see them later on, few years down the line, they're doing fine in life. Those seeds that we planted took root. And so I just say all of that to say that, hey, what we're doing, it typically does work. I'm not saying it couldn't use any improvement, but at the end of the day, keep doing what you're doing. We just have to continue to grow, but it does work. We don't have to just level the entire building. Then lastly, as leaders, we want to move with empathy. I feel like there's an empathy deficit in this country because a lot of times people don't take into account the next person until it impacts them. And so, yes, we want to have empathy and compassion as leaders. We want to model that. And so, in wrapping this up, this kid right here, this random kid right here, this is my daughter, my youngest daughter. Her name was Avery. And so, once upon a time, she was in gymnastics. And it cost me a lot of money. a lot of money. So, you know, try to avoid that sport if you gotta pick a sport for your kids. But this was at a gymnastics meet. And so, of course, we went to a lot of different meets, and I'm sure you've watched gymnastics, whether it be the Olympics or even college gymnastics. And all of them looked spectacular. And it was the same for my daughter. But then at the end of the meet, when they started announcing the placements, they'd be like 4th place in the bars, Avery Rogers, and then 2nd, 3rd, and 1st. And then other events, kind of the same thing. And I'm like, man, I look like my girl did pretty good. I mean, I don't think she was 4th or whatever. But you know what? It was always the little things. It was the little things that separated her being 4th place from 1st place. And so I say that because, again, we're talking about what we can do, the work. And the work doesn't, again, like I said earlier, we don't have to level the whole building. If we can make some small changes, just like my daughter could have probably did some small, little, minute things better, it can have a huge impact. And I just want to show you this quick video of a small gesture having a huge impact. And so I share that with you because, yeah, that Chick-fil-A employee, that little gesture, out of her probably 6 hours on a shift or whatever, makes a huge difference in the lives of that family. And that's the same thing with what you do. It's the little things. Again, you don't have to make wholesale changes, but I would hope today I got your wheels turning and you're like, there's maybe something I could do a little bit differently that can have a huge impact. There's maybe something I can say. Maybe it's talking to that lawmaker and explaining to them, like, hey, you know, understanding our federal funding and our special education students and making sure, even if we don't have a DOE, that funding stays in place at the same levels or even increases. Just the little things that can make a huge difference. And so, have a quick story as I close that I want to share with you. This is my brother from another mother, my cousin Travis. And so let me tell you about Travis. Travis' mom, my aunt, my mom's sister, was an alcoholic. And she struggled with that a lot. And as you can imagine, it hugely impacted Travis. And it, of course, impacted her too, because she could never really fulfill her potential. She lived with my grandmother, with Travis. And so as you can probably come to your conclusion that yes, they were poor. They received government aid. And so Travis' dad was not involved. Travis knew who his dad was, but his dad did not help him at all. He didn't provide financial support. He didn't provide emotional support. He was just non-existent. And so a couple of things right there. Travis was poor, no father involved. Travis also struggled a lot in school. He had problems reading. He wasn't ever classified as special education, but now that I've been an educator and I look back, I remember how much he struggled. Yeah, he should have been in special education. And he also had a lot of problems just behavior-wise initially, but he was a good kid at heart. And so with that, I said that he struggled a lot academically, and here's how much he struggled. That by the time he reached 8th grade, he had been retained 4 times. So do the math. How old was he as an 8th grader? Yeah, about 17. Me and Travis are the same age. And so I was a senior in high school, and Travis was in the 8th grade. And so with that, if I had to end this story right here, what prediction would you make about Travis' life? Dropped out? Anything else? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Jail? Alcoholic? Yeah, his mom's alcoholic. All very fair assumptions. I don't knock any one of you for your assumption or prediction. But I'm pleased to tell you, Travis didn't do any of those things. He stayed in school. Why? He believed in education. He believed in the power of an education, even with his struggles. He had people that had faith in him, that were willing to work with him. And he went from somebody that unfortunately had been ridiculed because of his mom's alcoholism. He didn't have any control over that. To someone that became very highly respected. He went on to high school, played in the marching band, didn't fail any grades in high school, and graduated with a high school diploma, not with a GED. And so, yes, he graduated at 20, but he's like, Mills, I want to walk the stage. I want to put on a cap and gown. I want a class ring. And he accomplished that because he had educators and people in the community, and we grew up in a small community, that believed in him, that took interest in him. And guess what he did after that? He went to college. Now, he didn't finish college, but he overcame his circumstances. Why? Because of an education. He overcame poverty. He overcame single parenthood. And he became a productive member of society. He got married. He had 3 beautiful daughters. And I know you're probably saying, well, you said had. Well, yes, unfortunately, he passed away from a heart condition at an early age. But I love sharing his story because, again, I know this man right here, he believed in the power of an education. And so don't give up. Don't feel like what you do doesn't work, because it does work. You have an impact. I'm sure there's a Travis in every one of your school districts, at least one of them. And you're giving those students an opportunity to succeed. And so when you maybe get frustrated, think of those students like Travis. And so with that being said, I'm getting close to the end of my presentation. I'd love to get some feedback from you all. If you can scan that QR code right there. If you complete the survey, you'll have an opportunity to download my slides. I know saw people taking notes and everything. And so, yes, if you complete that survey and you rate me highly, then you get to, I'm just playing. You get an opportunity to download my slide deck. And this survey right here is just for my own personal use. It's not associated with the conference. Also, if you're interested in maybe having me come to your school district, it also gives you an opportunity to indicate interest that way. And so I'm going to continue on. I got 3 minutes. Finishing on time. Yes. So a couple of quotes. If you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito. Sometimes we shortchange ourselves. Don't do that. And this quote I came up with, change happens one person at a time, 1 second at a time. Sometimes we look at the task and we're like, oh man, that just looks like it's too much, so I'm not even going to do it. And so we have to keep things in perspective. Take it 1 step at a time, 1 second at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. And so with that being said, I'll put it back on the survey in case you didn't get that. Every child deserves the chance to grow, to overcome the limits of the status quo. We go all in. We give our best. It's every child's birthright to be a success. Like a rising tide that raises all ships, our purpose as leaders is to empower and uplift. You're doing a great job. Be proud of what you did. But let's level up and be a champion for kids. I thank you so much for having me here today and giving me the opportunity to share with you all and fellowship with you all. And so, again, I just pray that you all keep our kids' best interest in your heart and continue doing the things that can really move the needle in our communities. Y'all take care. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mills. It really is important to keep in mind. We've got 5.5 million children. And sometimes it gets harder, but taking that step each day, making that extra phone call, reaching out to make a huge difference. For those of you that are attending the post-conference, evaluating and improving student outcomes, training tomorrow morning starts at 8 a.m.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Participation in the entire session